On the Gaza issue, I'm anti-war, and but that doesn't mean that all wars are evil. I I think the defensive wars, if it's a war of choice, to me it's an immoral war. In the last 100 years in my country, all the wars that we've been involved with, except for one, which was World War II, in my view, were immoral wars. They were wars of choice, and this includes World War One. My grandfather was a peace activist in World War One, Joseph Kennedy, and he lost a lot of his friends, a lot of his relationships because of that. But he said this is a war that is going to benefit arms dealers, it's going to benefit bankers, and it's going to benefit empires, and it's not going to benefit people. And of course, 50 million people died, and he was right about that. World War II was a moral war, in my view, because it was a defensive war. Our country was attacked. We were attacked by an implacable enemy that was intent on global domination, destruction of Western values, Western cultures, all the things that we, democracy, all the things that we believed in. I look at the Israel, of course, I'm very, very much against the Ukraine war, which is definitely a war of choice and a war we could have avoided. I look at the Israel war and I see a defensive war. Israel was attacked on October 7th, but not just October 7th. It was attacked for 16 years prior to October 7th, with an average of 2,000 missiles a year being fired into civilian centers. Now, I consider myself very, very pro-Palestinian. I have friendships with many Palestinians. I visited the West Bank. I've met with the Palestinian leadership in the West Bank. I'm associated with an organization, the Jordan River Keeper in Israel, which is the only organization in Israel that has Palestinians, Jordanian Arabs, and Israeli Jews on its board. I have friends in the West Bank, in Gaza today, who I'm supporting, and who are living under terrible, terrible circumstances. And my heart goes out to all the people who have been injured by this war, particularly the children, the civilians. It's heartbreaking. But I don't see why people are blaming Israel. I think I think it's a mistake to conflate Hamas with the Palestinian people. Hamas has been the worst enemy to the Palestinian people. It has been a proxy of Iran. It is pursuing a different objective than the welfare of the Palestinian people. Oh, I don't see that Israel has a choice. There's no country in the world. You have an organization, Hamas, that is sworn to the destruction of Israel. It has in its charter not only that it wants the annihilation of Israel, but also that it is against Islamic law to even negotiate with Israel, except as a ruse. So people say, well, we want a ceasefire. Well, what happens in a ceasefire? Isn't a ceasefire just an opportunity for Hamas to regroup, rearm, and then attack again, which it says it's going to do? It says this is just the beginning. October 7th is the beginning of a whole series of October 7th. And it's as good as its word. There have been 5 ceasefires to date, and every one of them, Hamas has used to rearm, regroup, hoist the banner, and attack again. So at some point, if you're Israel, and this last attack demonstrated, I think, to everybody in Israel, and this war is overwhelmingly popular in Israel, because people understand that this is no longer a tactical problem. It is now a strategic problem. They tried to handle it tactically for 16 years. They did something that no nation in the world has ever done, which is to build the Iron Dome, so that they're dealing with a neighbor that's firing missiles. In Mexico, decided to reclaim Texas and started firing 2,000 missiles a year onto San Antonio and Houston. It would take us 5 minutes to go get rid of the people who were doing it. Any other nation in the world would do that. And, the defensive wars are legal under Article 5 of the UN Charter for a good reason, is that, a nation has an obligation to protect its people, to protect its borders. So you have a You have a group that is pledged to its destruction, and I don't see how Israel has any choice except to go in and get rid of the group unless they're going to negotiate, which they will not negotiate. They've already said, we will not negotiate. By the way, every other country in the world that got in this position would surrender. Israel has won the war. Why is Hamas not surrendering? It is hiding behind its own people. It is ensuring their deaths rather than doing what the Nazis did, what the Japanese did, what everybody else, what Iraq did, which is to say, yeah, we're going to surrender. We're not going to put our people through this. Why are people blaming Israel? The question we should ask ourselves, are we blaming Israel just because it's a Jewish state? And, there are, anyway, that's maybe the beginning of a discussion for you, but that's, a simple statement of why I take this position.